Hello, friends. I'm Doris, 65 years young, or so they say. Welcome to Book Navigator. Got a personal experience or inspiring tale that could touch our listeners? I'll share it right here with your name and photo in the video. Just email your story and pic. Please check the description. Your turn could be next. Pull up a chair, pour yourself a cup of chamomile tea, and settle in. Oh, honey, today's tale. It's not mine this time, it's from my dear friend Wayne. A rock of a man who's been through the ringer and come out shining. He shared it with me over coffee last week. His voice cracking just a bit. Eyes misty like morning dew on a windshield. If you've ever felt those invisible chains tightening around your heart, family pulling you under with good intentions, buckle up. Wayne's story isn't about fireworks or fistfights. It's that gut-wrenching click of a deadbolt in the witching hour. The shaky exhale after the storms passed. They called him a fool, muttered it over backyard barbecues. Words hanging thick as smoke from the grill. But he grabbed that phone. He dialed the cops. And in that raw, heart-pounding beat, he twisted the key not to shut the world out, but to claw back the man he'd buried under years of yes. Sir, if those heavy hands have ever clamped your shoulders, squeezing the life out of your dreams, if you poured your soul dry just to keep the peace, stick with me, darling. This ain't revenge, it's a gritty map to fences, drawn in the sweat of everyday guts. By the end, you'll feel how wild mess bows to a sliver of spine. How can ain't just DNA, it's hammered in the blaze of earned down respect. Let's tread this trail side by side, one shaky boot forward at a time. Picture this. It's 1972. The air thick with that hazy summer gold. When Wayne was 22, his hair shaggy and sun-bleached. The kitchen buzzing with the cozy yeast of bread dew puffing up like a promise. The screen door flaps lazy in the breeze, hauling in the wild perfume of honeysuckle. From the backyard, nature's own sneaky whisper that eternities lurking just past the picket fence. That's when Teresa breezes through. Not with trumpets or thunder, but with grease-streaked fingers from tuning carburetors, and a grin that lit up like cracked leather under the sun. Wayne, she'd murmur, tucking a wild roadside black-eyed Susan into his calloused fist. You're the steady beat in my wild hurricane. They piece their life from those rough edges hopes, patched with guffaws and grit. A squat bungalow on Oak Lane, floors groaning like trusted old pals underfoot. You can almost hear the rhythmic whack of her wrench as they bolted shelves together. Sawdust swirling sharp and witty, blending with the hearty bubble of his venison stew chugging on the range. Two firecrackers of kids. Sarah, her giggles a mirror of Teresa's spark. And Michael, all blaze and why. S darting after lighting bugs till the Milky Way spilled overhead. Life, it wasn't some glossy postcard, bless its heart no. It rolled smooth as the creek winding out back, etching its groove without flooding the levees. Respect, that was the glue holding the dam. Teresa clocked in at the factory, hauling home all stains and yarns that had the dinner table howling. Wayne tallied ledgers at the feed store downtown, knee-deep in the musty hush of grain sacks and dog-eared almanacs, plotting road trips they'd chase someday. They scraped dimes like gold nuggets, stashing them for the thunderheads on the horizon. The real secret sauce, she'd rib, rattling that brass house key on its frayed lanyard, is keepin' the gale outside till you say, howdy, they'd belly laugh, till the joists rattled, but fate. She's a sly fox, scribbling her own crooked plot. In 2018, the factory snatched her stroke swift as a busted drive chain. 68, poof, before her black coffee could even kiss the mug's rim. The quiet that crashed in. It was a beast, folk dense as a river mist choking the lungs. No more stomp of steel-toed boots on the stoop. No husky croon of her bedtime ballad floating up the risers. Just Wayne, rattling like loose change in a cavernous shell. Honeysuckle blooming bold out front but twisting sour sweet. Like regret swirled in bourbon. He'd slump into her battered rocker by the sash that, sagging throne of cracked vinyl still, cupped to her curves and ghost. his thumb over the key fob slung on the arm. Hers, through and through, brass, buffed glossy by honest miles, etched with their initials tangled like kudzu. A silent badge of them since tight, bulletproof. Grief creeps like a back-alley mother, but family. They can flip the script and gun the engine on the heist. Teresa's clan her brother Harold, jagged as a rusted blade after losing his own gal. Their boy Derek, my nephew by marriage, always sporting the used car pitch with a calculator holstered like a six-shooter. And then Wayne's own fledglings, Sarah and Michael, flown the nest but flapping back fierce, talons out for any crumb. At the graveside, rain pounding our brawlies like Judgment Day drums. Air sodden with clay and hothouse roses. Harold sidles up sly. His drawl oozes thick as cane syrup. Too slick to swallow, Wayne. Buddy, we'll ride shotgun for ya. There's it wanted that way. His paw latches. Wayne's biceps talons burrowing like fence wire. Wayne bobbed through the fog, but tucked in his jeans pocket. That key fob seared hot. A hidden flint against the freeze. The first overstep. Gentle as a spring drizzle. Easy to chalk up too hard. Weeks later, Sarah's call buzzes in, fizzing with urban static. Dad, that place is eating you alive to roomy to raw. Flip it, park the cash. We're frettin', that's all, frettin'. Their go-to hammer, hefty as a booby prize nobody craved. When she storms in for a check-in, her peepers flick to the sideboard stacked with sepia shots-vel grins. Feast frenzies then bolt like scalded cats. Michael tags team quick, rolling up with pizza boxes reeking of pepperoni and berry beefs. Mom's gone. Dad, let us wrangle the finances. You're off your game lately. Off my game. Those barbs plunked like boulders in a mill pond. Waves of what if sloshing at his shores. That eve, Wayne brews chamomile in the hush of the galley. Vapor twining ghostly and folds into the rocker. The key catches the bulb's gleam. And Teresa's timbre ghosts low but iron, steady in the squall. But the squall was already oozing. Through the seams the planks moaning. Under boot heels that weren't his. The sour aftertaste of their wisdom clotting the breeze long gone. Shoot, it always circles back to greenbacks, don't it? The big unravel. Harold lunges first, materializing on the stoop with that cloying beam. Just a spot of scratch. Wayne, Derek's eyeing this auto parts get rock solid. Cross my ticker. 5K. And it'll boomerang with gravy. He shoves the draft across the scarred pine table. Yanked fresh from the nest egg. Wayne and Teresa had babied through hell and high water. Like a plot they'd weeded through bone-dry spales and gully washers. Wayne's BIC waivers. Will clouding his call, but he inks it. And as the form sighs free, a chunk of his calm evaporates like spit on a skillet. Payback, pure hogwash spun from pyrite. Seasons limp by, honeysuckle fading to thorny husks. And their alibis sprout rank as crabgrass, any tick now. Uncle Wayne the economy's a grizzly. Then Sarah piles on, Dad. The gutters are weepin'. No sweat, Michael's got it. We'll even the tally anon. Float it. Even it, by thaw. 12 grand had ghosted nickel and dimmin' from his stash into their bottomless pit. The bungalow itself whimpered off kilter, not from drips, but the gut punch void of faith fractured. Way deep, in that gut whisper we all tote. Wayne clocked it. This wasn't tribe no more. It was a shakedown on a busted boulevard, and he'd misplaced his own damn gate. That April dusk, he prowls the galley planks. The ancient mantel clock thumping erratic like a hangover pulse. A veil of flower dust the butcher block from some phantom need. Spectral nod to loaves leavened in kinder grips. The vibe caged, fusty as hindsight. And bam, that heart wall bursts, raw and roaring. Harold crashed the gate next Tuesday. Derek dogging like a mutt in a cheap blazer. His aftershave hacking the air keen as a backstab. Wayne, we've hashed this. Harold purse, peepers flinty as creek pebbles. That shack's sucking you under levees, fixes, the works. Sack it in with us. Sarah's got the docks. Cued, docks, a rental rigged in. Ribbons of care, swapping his sagging. Oak Lane nest for a cedar chest spare room and the beep of nuked grub. Wayne roots in the jam, the Scylla furrow dug in grit and gall. Hell no, he growls, temper sinking hooks like an elm in gale-gouged turf. This is my seat, my brass, my grip on the gale. They snicker at the jump mild, patronizing, like he is some dotty uncle peddling tall tales. Then it snaps brittle, fraying at the fringe. Daft old coot, Derek grumbles, optics rolling like loaded dice in a bust. Huggin' phantoms. There's a hang her head at this hooey. Hang her head. It slugs Wayne like a gut shot from a blizzard hose, icing his wheeze. Harold bobs, his bay rum turned rancid, curdled to decay. Pity the young'uns. Wayne, you're teeterin'. We'll fetch the fixins you need, teeterin'. The den wobbles, not his stance, but the maelstrom they'd mustered round him. He slams the slab. The bolt snaps, booming through the void like an oath graven in grain. But they don't bolt. Knuckles batter the boards, yaps seeping through slits like fumes. Unlock it. You're Mac in a spectacle. Drapes flutter curbside, nosy neighbors gawking like spooked barn cats. Wayne's mitt trembles on the latch, digits balanced as porcelain, but then zing, clear as a frostbite bite. Steady in the squall, he lunges for the foyer rotary, its spiral leash kinking like a wire unwinding, and punches digits with phalanges that finally screamed mine. 911, the dispatch drawls, rock solid as a ticker in the black. What's the ruckus? Intruders, Wayne clips, weighing syllables like spices in a slow-braced rage. Kin, but they ain't bid welcome. And they flat refuse to vamoose. Whalers wail far. Then roar near crimson and cobalt strobes, throbbing his partitions like a phantom aurora. The badges thunder up with Solace slamming the veranda. Flickers dripping petrichor spiked with his own panic brine. Harold hitches a gasp like a ham actor mid-soliloquy, palm fanning his gullet. Troopers, he's Looney Tunes. This here's my brother-in-law bereft, balmy, Derek dives in. Threads askew, we was just pitching a hand. But the head bull, a gal with gaze warm as corn pone fresh from the Dutch and a stenopod snappy as pressed. Chambray, pivots to him. Sir, your take. Wayne thrusts the fob, brass winking in the squad glow. This turf's mine. They got no shank. No claim. She dips, scribble rasping like a hushed absolution. And just like that, the swell starts to crest. They skulk off under a gravelly growl, ears pinned. But the venom they'd vomited soaked in, tainting the loam of their tangled lore. Murmurs mushroom like pond skim. Wayne's lost his marble squealing to the star on his own stock. Sarah dials that midnight. Timbre of whip crack over the wire. Dad, what fresh hell. We're blood. Blood, it lolled there, bloated and bruised, primed to pop. Wayne coils into the rocker, his brew iced over beside, and spins the brass betwixt digits. It's chill bite a rope to the gent Teresa had cherished. Guts, not jives, he coaches. That's the true tether. That siren summon. It was the barb that hooked the hull, yanking it whipcord tight. But the real rumble brewed languid, stacking like Java stewed to fierce potent, puckish, soul scouring. Let me rewind a tick, bone out how it snowballed. Post Teresa, Wayne gutted it out cause. That's the drill you. Grind the Joe pitch dark with grit. Let the haze veil the pain where the wrens tap for kernels. And buckle your hikers for the hoof to the co-op. Those racks. His bunker, yarns cocooning him like a quilt from shelved schemes. Leaves wafting faint vanilla hush of epics. Noon's thought to these Popeyes, each leaden as lead shot. Michael spearheads, ever with some slick perk baited keen. Dad, the truck's wheezin', couple bills to bridge. His bear hugs drag, midst frisking pouches that clinked void as vaults. Wayne pried the register, the dupe sheet wheezing faint beef, and fork it forth. Then Derek, satchel popping like a bird trap, can't misplay. Uncle Wayne flippin' lots. Pure bullseye. He dosed with vows clanging too. Wayne's ledgers chiming emptier per peel out. By leaf peep, the seep swelled to spate. Invoices teetered on the console like fall flume. Scarlet stamps hollering alerts that jittered in the gust. The bungalow, once crackling with syrup hash and froth of free gab, now nursed a draft that nibbled marrow. Dusk groans weren't wraiths, but the chew of riddles. Am I the chump? Ladlin from a bone-dry barrel and dubbing it devotion. Jack Frost bit brutal that span, gales baying like the world's unslaked cravings. You'll tumbled in, and Wayne trims the spruce lonesome. Baubles chiming sly as scandals, for gum-gumming his nails like clingy cheer. They swarm like a skein herald hulling fruit loaf, hefty and honeyed with old arrears. Sarah and Michael toting swag trust taut in chords of claim. Supper sizzles with fowls amber snap, dripping spitting on the board. But the chatter curdles the just swift. Dad, that loft's jammed with trash, Michael jabs. Time dangling mid-chomp, trash, their full saga. Distilled to flea flicker stickers. Wayne beams through the gnaw, the faba snub ballast in his flannel hip. But later, wrist high and sudsy suds called rivulets murdering his heighty senses the rift yawn. Fences, Wayne, he preaches. Like the stockade Teresa spiked ages back burly, bullheaded, and damn proud. The pushback kicks pint-sized. The mode all sea changes take triumphs you nestle like toasty nips of stock. Prime, the jotter coil-wired with a skin-bleached azure as a dog day dome. Wayne nabs it from the corner mart, leaves pristine and pleading. That gloaming, thrown in the rocker like a lookout. He launches the count, timestamps, tender, every spike word. October 15th, 5 bills to Michael, dire digs, no chit, no grace. The nib rasps even. A patter like hail on a shingle. The vinyl moaning under his crook. Ink's iron zing mooring him fast. Dawn cracks, chamomile hissing meek in its mug, and he buzzes the vault. Ice those plastics. He barks the clerk, pitch plumb as a level. And the shared pots. Seal hermetic. The clack of keys mirrors his pivot. A portal banging to unbygone bids. Steady, he breathes to the bare scullery steady racing the scepter. The barricades follow, trimmed neat as a smith's nippers. To Sarah, he scribes in his scrawl, wax drips sealing ruby fierce as a throb. Sweet pea, I dig you deep, but dig ain't a barkeep's bill. No more floats from this crick. Swing for Joe. They'll swing for the yarn that feeds the fire. He stamps it keen as a dart. And her riposte. Tumbleweeds at prime. Then a reel-to-reel laced with wound. Dad, this is hogwash. Pure hogwash. Hogwash. It's smarted like brine on a gash. But he cues it thrice. Ledger splayed, inking the tick. Proof his breastplate, knit hush and hearty. Michael rebounds rabid, rubber gnashing pea gravel at crepuscule. Bite crisp with hoarfrost's vow. Just a swift squiggle. Dad for the pad remort. It will smooth the whole shebang. That puppish smirk still yanks, but his lamps burned ravenous as a possum at the smokehouse. Wayne fronts him on the gallery, fob dangling from knuckles like a Marshall's star. Nix, boy. The smoothing launches with you hauling. Your own freight. He balloons. You're bonkers. Snippin' us adrift like this. But Wayne cracks the portal a hair. The casement his moat cranked sky high. Bonkers is Ladlin till you're a wisp. Beat feet, Michael. Hustle your path back over this transom. He fishtails gone, brake lamps hemorrhaging scarlet into the gloam. Wayne deadbolts the barrier the rasp batting home like a full stop on a saga stretched thin. The rocker swaddles post, vinyl huffing comfy. And he simmers new brew, chamomile unfurling like a truce to his battered ticker. Harold, mind he's the barb sunk deepest in the bramble. Bloom gentles the dirt, but his vice stays vice tight. He potters up with fret pies that congeal to concrete. Shane salmon pasta under a scorched cheddar cap. Brinier than roux. Wayne, Derek's in a jam. That advance pony up, or it gets thorny, or the menace dangles. Shrouded in vain vow haze. Over wedges of shoe-fly shattery shell flaking toasty with clove. But the gulf gone Arctic he lays it naked. Harold, that's my roost fund, plume by plume. Square it, or we cue the briefs to belt the ballad. His chortle satyrs like skim ice under boot. Breeze, against flesh and bone. You plunged the abyss shade of that stoop sideshow. But this go, The Jotter lolls Agape in his lap, bloated with her own curlicue autographs on those chits. Eyeball this, he clips, timbre of firm flow. Stamps, stacks, your mark. Brash as brass, Rouge searches her jowls, the wedge ditched. The galleys tick bloating to glut the strain. The blow-top blasts that may vault a plum wealth with thunder's dare. Derek rigs a clan powwow, smack on Wayne's gouged walnut slab. Claiming the rostrum unasked, they jam-pack, Sarah with real trails furrowing her fizz. Michael sulking like thunderheads, Harold reigning like some wilted lord. The aura clings dense with specters of brisketruts mushy, but Wayne's backbone brazing to rebar. Wayne, Harold kicks off, tone syrup on shill. This here's a powwow. You're flailin'. Ink the proxy its mercy, plain. Proxy, the term thuds leaden in his craw, roiling like rot at undermoon. Inner gale howls, they clock widows throb for frailty, cloak their clutch in nursing threads. He shoves his perch deliberate, the drag on lumber a manifesto gouge profound. Nope, one pip, we as a pip, colossal as a butte. This digs, this gulp mine. You've siphoned plenty. Redeem the dew, or sachet to the sun of fallout. The blast? Old Testament fury Sarah's will splitting like bolt. Dad, we cherish ya, blind as you are. Michael's Duke on the plain, thankless to the marrow. Derek's sneer, Luby hag heater. That's you, Harold's fiat. Chill as a moneylender's nix. We'll claw the Testament fang and claw. Teresa scraps sours by birthmark, there yells vortex. A cyclone swamping the whippoorwill's vesper warble yonder the pane. But Wayne rears firm, fob and paw, and twirls it languid aloft snick. Snick like bolting a portal in his core. Cherish, then salute it, or tramp that hatch for keeps. They dig spurs, not initial. The blockade drags, crack a dawn peals jangling the horn off its cradle. Shredding slumber's silken shroud. Dead airs weighted with fret. Post-pilfered, tallies vanishing like chaff in zephyr. Derek batters the slab once more, ham raw, roaring for his take. The block hums dull, the lanes tattle grinding like a lazy corn. Wayne scribes every shade Jotter leaves plumping pudgy as a brook in freshet. The law loops round anew, not foes now, but flankers on guard. That sophomore hail, it's hounding. Cut and chronic they keep loopin'. Officer Ramirez, those self-semi tender lamps, thumbs her block. Mullin a keep away, writ, sir. Past due, keep away. It gray red course as sacking, but pat as a downpour. Wayne nods, the brasses drag his polestar. Thence it twists to a jurist jiggle gauged. No jazz, just the stomp of right. He hooks grace at the pro bono perch uptown. A steel will spitfire with a vice like hammered billet. Fences is the bar's ballad of bomb. Wayne, she rasps, her neck purring with citrus swab and the tart snap of shot. They comb the codicil Teresa's script limpid as brick babble, pad, and purse. His solo, no snares of clan courtesy to lasso. Arrears tally, 18K, vigorous heaping like Flurry's opener. Magistrates turf a chit filed taut as crisp courtesy. Writs slipped under sills like dooms in missives. The hall hulks that August 10th, Asher pitiless ribbing the twist in his trape. The joint reeks of floor bomb and the wind whiff of fret sweat. Each rebound booming the maybes. Wayne straps Teresa's heirloom ticker. It's talk a war drum on his vein, and clips the fob to his waistcoat like a charm of lead lads. They huddle athwart the nave, Harold hewn from basalt. Derek jittering like hot lead. Sarah a wraith by ping, can't get it. Dad and Michael lolls. Windsor warped as his wants. Beetle Harlan hacks a cough, growl coarse as raw pine. Harper V, Ken counters claim. Recoup and shield steps, Wayne's cue drops prime. He hauls up, pins like sequoias. Your worship, they hitched on yarns of by and by. Left me clutching phantoms, the Jotter blooms. Leaves riffling like tums in a tome ceiling shut. He reels the roster stamps, tumbling his tongue. Some smacking solid slips, fluttering like war rags of ruptured vow. Their comeback, dirge of Joel. Harold's brims, rehearsed and rhinestone, sheep thatchered. Kin minds kin, Derek, hitch in the hustle. Nothing but Michael was warped her, your worship. Warped? Looney's low cousin. But Grace slices, edge keen, beats Trump dirges. Syrinx sat on hide, not breeze. Break crawls in the lobby's glare limbo. The slot drone underscoring the squeeze. Wayne sips a wax beaker of branch, chill thread down his pipe. Paul X fretting the brass like a fret pebble. We score already. He'd reared. He'd roared his right. Re-entry, the ether clots. The mallet hung like Doom Zone Mall. Then wham like Peel rumbling roost. Verdict for suitor. Total payback in 90 ticks. Keep away decreed no brush in 100 paces. Bench patrolled soul. Their hitches ripple like gust in sere sedge. His. A gush of toasty ease, loosening the throb like a deep soak post-reap. Harold's glare could curdle Hui, but Wayne locks it even. Jaw set as a baron's. Guts is the tone now or cough it in hush. A field. The blaze bades orient the travertine treads. Locusts thrumming a conqueror's croon. Wayne treks padward unchained. Church singing some under his treads not lorn, but loosed, each pace reclaiming turf he'd tendered. What sprouts after? Not bottle rockets, but tenderer. Truer might blooming florid by florid in the soft beam. The drafts trickle testy at outset. Derek sheath rigid as glue. Then Michael's with adobbed regrets. Dad schooling sunken. Sarah tests the brine, Jill mends the breach. Chamomile thread and gab from her hopes not her hooks. Harold. The meekest mint of billet sporadic. Spritzed but seemly. The keep away stays furled in his bureau. A buckler burnished but seldom bared. The bungalow exhales at last. Wayne rehitches those crochet shades his ma hooked, letting M sway idle in the waft, and cranks the range dough ballooning bready and brash. Scourging glooms from the nooks. Dawn's fuzz to co-op shifts and streambank saunters. The reels rumble a poultice on antique aches. Guts deep, the verity beds. Hush might ain't the mute of yield. It's the sure swivel of the shank. The gripped wire post by. The lone relish of bruise wisp. Winds pile plum horde ascending not avalanching. Ease unrent by the shriek peal. The rocker hugging plush to him solo, but flush with peace. By falls wheel, the brass loops roost whole. He melts spears not theirs, but for the yarn unspooling fresh. One for the potting lean-to. Gear of fancy's stowed sound. Nother for the parish den, where he'd seated something feral and fit. Ye see, codas ain't periods their hulls splitting. In the bench's boom, he whelped shanks to stock, a hoop for widowers and gents past 50. Any hide whose veins been vamped by them meant to brim it. Thursdays now, we heard in clapstools, flasks fizzing chamomile to the ether, yarns gushing like creeks, long corked. That maiden muster. Scant 5, mugs graven with charts of scraps, sly one. Trot your shank, Wayne bids brass or brain flash, whattier murdia. Maudie unfurls of whelps nip in his golden years like lunch money. Lyle of Outland wheeling his ranch like vultures on a rail. Chuckles not with brine blubs. The dent thine with our mass wheeze no reek of devoir. Just the loam of grasp. We swap kit. Jotters as audits, crisis lines as lances. Steady in the squall, we murmur at low united, it bellows. To cycles burrowed, we're 2 stout. Fists plunged in muni plot muck. Seating stockades like tubers that blaze brassy come equinox. Feasts, his 2 helm summons merited via time's thaw, not commandeered by fiat. Sarah wafts sporadic, her gaze mellowed. Michael pings hebdo, timbre stripped of the snatch. Derek's a faint reverb, but the roster writes. Harold's billets land taut. Redolent with yield, with dew, he inks and aims it, near enough. Gazin rear now, at 67. With creases on his fizz like streams sculping gulches. Wayne spies clan crisp, not irons, but picks. Vain Mavice, but guts is the kill that quenches it keen. They tagged him daft for barricading his pail. But the true tomfoolery's in flogging your spirit's ghost shank. Hush might thrives in the puff a pipe your nicks. The bolt snap post they peeled. The unhurried twist of brew vapor in your clutch. Fences ain't grates their mercy molded. Steady, the chassis that lets cherish rear tall wise squall skulks at the stoop. And you tuned in now, ticker tugged in your hush nook. Heed, ye ain't unmoored. That quiver in your mug, it's the kickoff swell of your surge. Swivel that shank in your midwood ear form. Punch the pipe, prop on a pal, hiss it to the glass. Launch we, a nick's breath hushed but sure as dawn. A ledger's fresh skin, a ramble snatched unbound. Plan buds on guts good ground, not devour's dust bowl. Grant from the spate, never the scare. Master your gales, and I your might strike root hush, hellbent, forever thine. Thanks for nursing this mug with me. Sweet souls from Oak Lane's faithful grown to where so your perch this eve. If Wayne's trail sparked a spark in your own, tote it on. Swivel your shank, swig profound, and thrive steadied. Now, as we let this story simmer like a pot left on low, let's pull out the nuggets, the hard-won learnings that Wayne hammered home over that coffee. Eyes fierce as fresh-forged steel. First off, darlin', boundaries ain't walls to hide behind. They're the sturdy rails that keep the train on track, letting love roll free without derailing your whole damn life. Second, grief's a thief in the night, but don't let it blind you to the daylight robber's family, or not. If they're tapping your well dry, it's okay to call in the law, loud and proud, 'cause true kin lifts you up, not drains you down. Third, that quiet strength, it don't roar like a lion. It whispers like wind through the willows, steady and unbending, turning chaos to order one click at a time. And last, remember, respect's the real bloodline, the forge that tempers ties into something unbreakable. Carry these close, like that brass key in your pocket to map through the storms. Good night, and here's to keys turn true.